to a new series I like to call Reading with Me. I will be reading books and reading it to you guys. Every episode will be a chapter. Today, this book is Where the Red Fern Grows by Wilson Rawls. I will answer some questions that I get, but I'm not going to guarantee them all will be answered. Now, let's read chapter 1. When I left my office that beautiful spring day, I had no idea what was in store for me. To begin with, everything was too perfect for anything unusual to happen. It was one of those days when a man feels good, feels like speaking to his neighbor, is glad to live in a country like ours, and proud of his government. You know what I mean. One of the rare days when everything is right and nothing is wrong. I was walking along whistling when I heard a dog fight. At first, I paid no attention to it. After all, it wasn't anything to get excited about, just another dog fight in a residential section. As the sound of the fight grew nearer, I could tell there were quite a few dogs mixed up in it. They boiled out of an alley, turned and headed straight for me. But wanting to get bitten or run over, I moved to the edge of the sidewalk. I could see that all the dogs were heading to one. About 25 feet from me, they caught him and he went. I felt sorry for the unfortunate one. I knew if something wasn't done quickly, the sanitation department would have picked up a dead dog. I was trying to make up my mind to help when I got surprised. Up out of the storm hill, something mass a weird old red-boned hound. For a second I saw him, caught my breath, couldn't believe what I had seen. Twisting and slashing, he fought his way through the pack, backed up under low branches of the hedge, growled, snarled. They formed a half to ground a big bird dog, bolder than the others, guarded him. The hedge shook as he tangled with the hound. He came out so fast he fell over backwards. I saw that his right ear was split wide open. It was too much for him and he took down the street, squalling like a scalded cat. A big, ugly cur tried his luck. He didn't get off so easy. He came out with his left shoulder laid open to the bone. He sat down, bit his rear, and let the wolf know that he had been hurt. This time, my fighting blood was boiling. It was hard for a man to stand and watch the wolf fight against such odds, especially if that man had memories in his heart like I had mine. I had seen the time when an old town like that had taken his life so that I might live. Taking off my coat, I wadded him. My yellingness told him to do respect, but the sweet coat did. The dog scattered and left. Down on my knees, I peered back under the hedge. The hound was still mad. He growled at me and showed his teeth. I knew it wasn't his nature to fight a man. In a soft voice, I started talking to him. "Come on, boy," I said. "It's all right. I'll be your friend. Come on now." The fighting fire slowly left his eyes. He bowed his head, and his long red tail started thumping the ground. I kept coxing on his stomach. An inch at a time, he came to me and laid his head in my hand. I almost cried at what I saw. His coat was dirty and mud-caked. His skin was stretched drum-tight over the bony frame. The knotty joints of his hips and shoulders stood out a good 3 inches from his body. I could tell he was starved. I couldn't figure it out. He did belong in town. He was far out of place with the boxers, poodles, bird dogs, and other breeds of town dogs. He belonged in the country. He was a hunting hound. I raised one of his paws. There I read the story. The pads are worn down and slick as rind on an apple. I knew he had come a long way and no doubt had a long way to go. Around his neck was a crude collar closer inspection, I saw it. He had been made from a piece of chip-lined leather. 2 holes had been punched in each end, and ends were laced together with baling wire. As I turned the collar with my fingers, I saw something else. There, scratched deep in the tough leather, was the name, Buddy. I guess that the curled, scrubby letters on probably been written by a little boy. It's strange indeed how memories can lie dormant in a man's mind for many years. Yet those memories can be awakened and brought forth fresh and new, just by something you've seen or something you've heard, or a sight of an old familiar face. What I saw in the warm gray eyes of the friendly old hound brought back wonderful memories. To show my gratitude, I took hold of his collar and said, "Come on, boy, let's go home and get something to eat." He seemed to understand that he had found a friend and came willingly. I gave him a bath and rubbed all of the soreness from his muscles. He drank quarts of milk and ate all the meat I had in the house. Hurried down to the store and bought more. He ate until he was satisfied. He slept all night and most of the next day. Late in the afternoon, he grew restless. I told him I understood, and as soon as it was dark, he could be on his way. I figured he had much better chance if he left town at night. That evening, a little after sundown, he walked out, slumped to the road, and looked at me. He thanked me by wagging his tail. With tears in my eyes, I said, "You're more than welcome, old fellow. In fact, you could stay here as long as you wanted to." He whined and licked my hand, wondering which way he would go. One final look turned and headed east. I couldn't help smiling as I watched him trot down the alley. I noticed the way his hind quarters shifted over to the right, never mind the front, yet always near the river. His long ears flopped up and down, keeping time with his jogging motion of his body. Yes, they were all there, like the unmistakable marks of a hunting hound. Where the alley emptied into the street, he stopped to look back. I waved my hand. As I watched him disappear in the twilight shadows, I whispered these words, "Goodbye, old fellow. Good luck. Good hunting." I didn't have to let him go. I could have kept him in my backyard, but to pen up a dog like that is a sin. It would have broken his heart. The will to live would have slowly left his body. I had no idea where he would come from or where he was going. Perhaps it wasn't too far, or maybe it was a long, long way. I tried to make myself believe that his home was in the Ozark Mountains, somewhere in Missouri or Oklahoma. It was impossible, even though it was a long way from Snake River Valley in Idaho. I figured something drastic must have happened in his life, as it was very unusual for a hound to be traveling alone. Perhaps he had been stolen, or maybe he had been sold for so much needed money. Whatever it was that had interrupted his life, he was trying to straighten it out. He was going home to his master he loved, and with the help of God, he would make it. To him, it made no difference how long the road, or how rough or rocky. His old feet would keep jogging along, on and on, mile after mile. There would be no crying or giving up. When his feet grew tired and weary, he would curl up in the weeds and rest. Water from the rain puddle or mountain stream along the highway, or the offerings from a hungry man would ease the pangs of hunger. Though the rains and snows, or the desert heat, he would jog along, never looking back. Some morning he would be on the top of the front porch, long he would be about 80 long. There would be a lot of tail wagging and few whimpering cries. His warm moist tongue would caress the hand of his master. All would be forgiven. Once again the lights would shine in the dog's world. His heart would be happy. After my friend had disappeared into the darkness, I stood and stared at the alley. A strange feeling came over me. At first I thought it was then I realized that wasn't it at all. The feeling was a wonderful one. Although the hound had no way of knowing it, he had stored memories. And the priceless treasures they were. Memories of my boyhood, Dave, an old Casey bacon bread can, 2 little red hounds, memories of a wonderful love, unselfish devotion, and death in the saddest form. As I turned to enter my yard, I started to lock the gate, and then I thought, no, I'll leave it open and back. I was about halfway to the house when a cool breeze drifted down from the rugged tetons. It had a bite in the goose pimples jumped out of my skin. I stopped at the woodshed and picked up several sticks of wood. I didn't turn on any lights until the home. The dark, quiet atmosphere was the perfect setting for the mood I was in. I built a fire in the fireplace and pulled down my favorite rocker. As I sat there in the silence, the fire grew larger. It crackled and popped. Firelight shadows began to shimmer and dance around the room. The warm, comfortable heat felt good. I struck a match to light my pipe. As I did, 2 beautiful cups gleamed from the mantel. I held the match up so I could get a better look. There they were, side by side. One was mourning dove, the highly polished surface gleaming, glistened with a golden sheen. The other was smaller and made of silver. It was a neat and trim and sparkled like a white star in the heavens. I got up and took them down. There were a story in the cups, a story that went back more than half a century. As I caressed the smooth surfaces, my mind drifted back through the years, back to my boyhood days. How wonderful the memories were. Piece by piece, the story unfolded. And that was chapter 1 of Where the Red Fern Grows. Thank you for listening. I will be continuing each chapter. Each chapter will be its own video. And I hope you enjoyed my reading. I'm sorry for any mispronunciations. And I'm sorry that my voice may sound like I'm stuffed up. And I apologize for any pauses or thought bubbles that went into my mind as I continue. So, thank you for watching, and I'm out.